I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, August the 23rd. Well, we've got a tug of the market here. We've got a lot of resistance to go below $1.10. You know, your packers want to get it as cheap as they can. They'd like to get it to nothing if they could, of course. But $1.10, we haven't been below $1.10 all year. Not since late last year where we were down below that. There's really no need for us to go dip below there. I know our weighted average come in just under $1.10 last week, but the market is $1.10, and we may see the guys dig their heels in pretty deep and try to hold that point, and sure hope they can get it done. You look at the board, live cattle futures, the October contract was up $1.87 on Tuesday to end the day at 107.72. Your August spot live cattle contracts at 106.72. So we should be right in there about $1.10 because we've been running a $3 to $4 basis here for the past several months. But feeder cattle futures, the October up 277 to end the day on Tuesday at 142.27. If you look down the road on your feeder cattle contracts, they're all just about the same. We're right in here from the high 140s, the low 140s, and from now all the way till next May, the widest spread there is from lowest to highest price is just barely over $4. You could go to any feeder cattle auction in the nation and watch 800-pound steers sell, and you're going to have a bigger spread than $4. It wouldn't matter if they all looked and weighed exactly the same, but that's pretty narrow spread there. So not much jostling around on your feeder cattle, and we know our feed is cheap, so it's just a deal where guys can get in there and try to get their cost of gains down as low as they can, but you're not going to see a whole lot of wavering if you're selling yearling cattle out front, because the market's it's about the same as it is now for a long ways. But one thing that's encouraging on our fat cattle, the last several weeks we've been seeing some weak sisters come in on a Monday and give away their fats several dollars below the market from the previous week. We didn't see that this Monday anyway. Could have happened behind a bush or under the table on Tuesday, but we didn't see that on Monday, so that's good. I haven't sold any cattle yet to speak of, so we're still holding the ground there. You look at your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on Beef Market Central on 800-pound steer base is 140-170, in there pretty tight to what all these markets are. They're all in there from 138.5 to 142.25, so there's not much waverance in there now. But we've got a cattle on feed report coming up here, and it could be friendly. It could help things. You know, it shouldn't necessarily help our current fat cattle market, but it always bleeds over, and then all these cattle and beef markets run together and pull and get support from each other. So that could help things on the cattle side. You know, our placements were a wreck with the way the analysts missed them last month. That's what put us into this big tailspin we've been in for the last month. But you look now, those analysts are going to come in and say, well, we didn't realize, you know, how much difference it was going to make having the largest calf crop in 10 years coming, and all this rebuilding of the cow herd, and so they're going to build that up a little bit. But if you actually look on your July placements in 2017, if you do on the reported auction receipts, just over 404,600 head, and that's for 2017. A year ago, what they compared that to was 408,800 head. So by all rights, and I know we got some direct cattle in there and this and that, and there are more cattle out there than there were a year ago because of rebuilding and a bigger calf herd. But by all rights, your placements should be either the same or just a pinch under what they were a year ago. But I would assume their analysts are going to come out there and they're still going to put it out there a ways over 100%. Well then, if it should come in somewhere around 100%, that would be bullish to the market. and that would be good. Your cattle on feed report will probably come in a little over 100% because they got to make all that work out right, being that there's more cattle around. But I'm not saying it's right, but it'll be official. I worked for USDA long enough to know what that means. But anyway, if you look at some of your other markets on a Tuesday, OKC West had a light run of calves, just about 1,200 head there for their calf sale. Had a higher undertone, they quoted there, and said some steer calves were as much as $7 higher. I tell you what, I know we've been talking about this big drought that's been going on in either side of the Corn Belt, either end of it, and up in the northern plains. But I tell you, down here in the meat of the country, in the southern plains, the southwest, the lower part of your Midwest, it is just absolutely wonderful. The Texas Panhandle is enjoying the wettest August on record ever. And it's just so green that you can't believe it. I mean, people getting, 10, 12 inches of rain here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Their grass traps are lush. The early wheat prospects are outstanding. The feed is going to be cheap around. There's lots of different forms of feed out there and lots of different forms of roughage. It's just, and that is going to help your calf market here. And I know we've got a lot of calves to move, but right now, the way things are, everything else is going down. But guys are still wanting some cattle out there. And when there's as much feed as there is around, and you can put a pound on them so cheap, your pounds are still worth well over $1 a pound. So makes a lot of sense to go ahead and buy them. West Plains, Missouri, Ozarks Regional Stockyard, 2,400 head there. The mostly calves there. Their market was steady to $3 lower. I had a lot of calves south of the border, and I'm saying south of the Missouri border going into Arkansas. So a lot of crossed up calves, a lot of calves carrying a little more ear than what they get there locally. But that was a little bit of pressure on the market too. But another thing in OKC West, they didn't have a lot of big drags of cattle, didn't have any big strings to really help the market and get a good test of it. But I'll tell you where they did have some was in Phillips, South Dakota. And it's getting time of the year they're going to start having sales more regular and more regular. And Phillip is a big sale. You can watch it here on DV Auction every Tuesday when they're having one. But you look at an individual quote at 125 on Tuesday afternoon. Phillips, South Dakota had 106 head of calves, weighed 458 at 203.50. About the best yearling price that I saw on Tuesday for an individual quote was out of Bluegrass Stockyards in Richmond, Kentucky. 11 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, had 67 head of steers, weighed at 811 at 146. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.